Well, hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome along to your Monday Night Rabble here on the Rangers Rabble Podcast. Plenty of things to chat about. The walkout yesterday and everything that's came from that and the fallout. The game itself, of course, Rangers did win by 3-1 yesterday. Although you might have missed that in the noise of everything else that was going on. And obviously plenty more besides that January transfer window as well. So, we'll get our teeth sunk into it. And I believe it's the first time that this particular ensemble has been put together for a podcast. So tonight I'm joined by Stuart. Stuart, how are we doing?
I'm very well, very well. The cold weather's went away, so we're all good. Yesterday, absolutely over the moon that we won. Was it surprised because it's a home game? But horrible to say after sitting in the same seat for 25 years. Don't care anymore.
Yeah, it's there is a bit of apathy surrounding it all just now. Trev, fresh from being at Ibrox yesterday as well. How's it going?
Good lads. And I agreed, Stuart. It's subtropical out there now. No quite tap-saff weather, but soon enough. I was at Ibrox yesterday, and I'm sure we'll get to it. And I did walk out in 55 minutes.
Okay, interesting. Well, we'll get into that in a second. Evening, Doug 97. Evening, Paul McGorricle. Tess. Evening, George. Evening, all. Okay then, lads.
Uh-oh.
One place to start, I feel. Are we back in the room? Are we?
Yeah. A wee glitch in the Matrix.
Gremlins, I tell you, in this in the Matrix tonight. But one place to start, I feel. We'll obviously come on to the game itself, the result, the goals, etc. But Trev, we'll start with you since you were one of those who walked out on 55 minutes yesterday, alongside the Union Bears, of course. Plenty of banners unfurled as well. Messages aimed at the board. But it's fair to say that there's been a mixed reaction to it, I think, in the fallout. Some very much on board with it and agreeing, some not so much on board. So I suppose the first question to throw at you, Trev, why do you feel the walkout was a necessary evil?
Well, first of all, the amount of banners that the Union Bears had up. Owen Linden's asking why I'm not delivering tonight, because the bike's got a big bloody puncture on it and I've had to push it back 10 miles, so I'm raging. It's in for repair. Anyway, get my pleasure of company tonight. So the amount of banners those boys had, like 3 sets, where did they bloody stole them all? Like, that's impressive, but all messages were relevant, I thought. And there's pictures of the board looking over directly at them, so good. In terms of the walkout thing, I think the Union Bears walking out themselves was impactful. Other people walking out not as much because they walked out in small clumps, and people could say, what's the point? I said to my season ticket holder friend, I said, do you want to do this? I said, I'm up for doing it, or you want to do it? I'm 50-50. If you say you don't want to do it, I will be your good Rangers supporting pal and stand by you, and we'll stay here. People could ask, does it make any difference? Does it matter if it makes any difference or not? Because ultimately it's your decision. And if you think it's impactful as an individual, do it. You could argue because I'm in the club deck, I'm at the very top, I'm above the board. They don't see that. It's more impactful if it's the other 3 stands. But I decided I was going to do it. And the Union Bears going out was the most impactful. I have to stress that. But I don't regret it at all, especially when I found out the last half an hour or so when I was watching it on my phone was absolutely gash. So maybe it was meant to be. People, the only thing I'll say, lads, the people that overwhelmingly booed the Union Bears leaving. Now, listen, the Union Bears, I've got a love-hate relationship with them. Sometimes I love them. They bring the atmosphere to the club, the games. But other times there's we individual Neds in there that ruin it with like pyros and stuff and get his bans and not bans, but get his fines and whatnot, right? So I have a love-hate relationship with them, but I love the fact that they walked out, and it's very, very impactful. So, but everyone that started booing them, I was like, what happened to your season ticket is yours to do with as you see fit. You can support Rangers in any way. How about doing the decent, honourable thing that we've all talked about in the Rabble of you do what you want and we'll respect it either way. But they didn't respect my decision and other people's decision to leave by booing me. I didn't boo them for staying or not leaving. You know, I just respected their decision to stay. They didn't respect my decision. Who's the mug? Sorry, rant over.
Well, I mean, I think I can understand a lot of what Trev says there, Stuart. I can. I said yesterday, I got a bit of flack for it, but I don't care. It's my honest opinion. I said yesterday when I was on the match reaction that if it was me personally, I wouldn't have left. But that's primarily because the way I see it, you know, I don't exactly earn a lot of money. So if I'm forking out hard-earned money to go to Ibrox to watch the game, then I'm not going to leave after 55 minutes. I'd rather make my voice heard in a different manner, but each to his own. And I do think Trev's right in that people have the right to walk out if they want to. But
and I respect that, Connor. I respect that, mate.
Yeah. But equally, Stuart, do people not also have the right to take issue with it and boo those that did leave the stadium if that's what they choose to do?
Yeah. Yesterday, I didn't make the ferry to journey over. However, if I did take my normal seat up that I have done for 20 plus years, would I have walked out? No. Would I have booed? No. And the reason being is that I understand the Union Bears walking out on Sunday. Right, that was their way to express their feelings about the current state of the club. Everyone, including Trev, has a right to voice their concerns, especially when we all feel strongly about how things are being run at the moment. That said, it's probably also important to ensure that any action taken are constructive, and they consider the impact on the team and the wider fan base. Open dialogue, I think, between the club and the supporters are probably non-existent at the moment, but it's crucial, I think, to address the concerns as we move forward, because at the moment, whether we like it or not, our fan base is split.
It very much is split, Trev. And look, you know, I respect anybody's opinion, and they can choose to do what they want to do. I agree with Stuart for what it's worth. I wouldn't have been booing either. I wouldn't have left. I wouldn't have booed. I would have sat in my chair, is what I'd have done, and I'd have watched the rest of the game. You know, but you know, this makes it does not make it difficult, I suppose, is the question for the board as well when they're looking at that scene, right? And they're seeing, a lot of people leaving, but by no means the majority of the people in the stadium. And then equally people booing. I mean, if the fans are split on this and divided, then how can a clear message that everybody can unify behind be sent to the board? Because I think everybody is fed up with the direction of travel in terms of the form. I think the form has been absolutely abominable. I mean, the away form in particular, if you were the Motherwell manager and you had that running away form, your job would be under serious threat, let alone at Rangers. And so I think everybody agrees with that point. But yet, despite the fact we're all in agreement there's a massive split about how to go about sending that message.
If the fans don't unite, the board wins. That's simple. And the thing is, see, when the Union Bears come up with this idea of leaving at 55, I thought that was brilliant. Because how do you get the message across? It's very difficult. You don't turn up. That might work because we were probably 10, 15,000 short yesterday to begin with. But they don't really care because they've got your season ticket money already. But if they visually see a massive chunk of the stadium walking out, that's more impactful, I think, anyway, And I don't blame the Union Bears for coming up with this idea. They came up with I thought, a decent idea. No one else has come up with any kind of credible idea. And that's not a slight on other people. That's just, it's hard to come up with an actual solution that works. Otherwise, we would have done it months and months and months ago. So they chose to do something and we went ahead with it. And I respect their decision to do that. I don't regret walking out at all. We don't do walking away. Well, we do if it's 3 years of this crap and we want the board gone. So what else? If anyone else has got better suggestions, generally I would like to hear them. I don't plan to do that again, by the way, for what it's worth. I wanted to do it once because I've never done anything like that before. I'm always peaceful in my protests. I'm no a Raj outside going nuts. I will always do the right thing and I'll be there cheering the boys. The thing is, okay, Connor, the counter could be stay to the very end and show your support to them, right?
Yeah.
Which would be a good shout, right? However, I've said to Martin many times before, blame's got to be spread across the club, right? From the players that sometimes are just damn unprofessional, where they scud Celtic and then don't turn up and do the simple stuff the week after. That is unprofessional. That's, I don't know what it is, a mentality thing, only showing up on the big day for the big matches so they get seen in the transfer market. Blame then goes up to Clement for some of the things he says, some of the tactics he chooses, some of the players that he puts on the pitch or doesn't put on the pitch. And ultimately, a big chunk of the blame goes in the board for picking the manager and this bloody domino effect that keeps going through. So I turn up and show my support to a team that are sometimes just bloody unprofessional and absolutely don't give a damn, I don't think, a lot of the time about the support. Why should I give to them when they're not giving to me, mate?
I mean, yeah. And I suppose that's a fair point as well, isn't it, Stuart? Because, I mean, for all the criticism that people might throw the way the Union Bears and others, I also think if you take a hard look at it, I also think Rangers fans deserve an enormous amount of credit for the way they have behaved in general terms, because we all seen the scenes outside Parkhead in 2020-21, when Neil Lennon was in charge and they had fallen off the wagon. We were surging towards the league title, and they knew that their fabled 10 in a row was gone. And we've seen outside that at Parkhead that there was barricades being thrown, there was all sorts of abuse, there was things happening at the house at Peter Lawwell. That hasn't happened with Rangers fans. It hasn't crossed any kind of threshold. It has been a peaceful protest, for want of a better term, in all reality yesterday. But some, like Lockeye the View, takes the opinion that he thinks it's made the club a laughingstock. But is that harsh, Stuart?
When I logged into work this morning, I had my two Geordie pals that I speak to at work, and the first thing they said to me was, "What was that all about on Sunday? Why are you walking out the stadium?" So it's been recognised further afield than just us. But to go back to your point about Celtic done this and how their fans were throwing the sharks about and attacking buses, etc. I think the difference with that point there, Connor, is that they were used to winning. They were almost guaranteed 2 trophies a season. So it was. We've been like this, and it pains you. We have been watching this since 2016, apart from one season. So we've probably not got to that crazy angry stage where we want to sort of like surround Ibrox and not let MD out and barricade themselves in because we're actually, we're so angry. We've been angry since 2016. So how more angry can you get before somebody sort of like understands how angry the fan base is? Like Trev, when you said about the banners, I think not so much the walkout protest. I think if anything was going to make the board sit up and take notice, was some of the messages on the banners that was put up, because they couldn't miss it. No, they was there. They were looking straight at it. And I liked the one that said something about don't take our loyalty for granted or something like that. I can't remember the exact words that was there. And I think that's true, because irrespective of myself, Trev, and 20,000 others decide not to renew your season tickets come May the 31st, somebody will take my seat. Somebody will take everybody else's seat. So that's not going to, don't buy season tickets. That's not going to happen. And I agree with one of the guys just said there, goes that he's not angry. He's just sick of it. As I said to you, Connor, before we come on air, delighted that we won yesterday, because I always thought we would because of our home form. But at this stage time, I don't really care, because it doesn't make any difference. No, there's only thing that done yesterday was bring it back to 15 points and no 18. But we'll go further into that, obviously, when we talk about the game. But I'm thinking the whole what can we do to make the board sit up and notice? I think it really doesn't matter, because I don't think for a second they'll take any notice. And that's a sad thing, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, Trev, to Neil's point there, because I think that's a fair point Neil makes. He's talking about he doesn't condemn anybody who walked out in 55th minute, but referencing a point that David Edgar on Heart and Hand had made about the protest needing to be more specific and with a clearer purpose.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair point, because my question from yesterday would have been, okay, what exactly is it that is being asked of the board? Is it remove Philippe Clement straight away? Is it then bring us in loads of players? We know it's not a quick fix, Trev, but in the immediate short term, which is really all the board can play with right now, in terms of trying to sort of stop, the rot, as it were, and alleviate some of the anger that people are feeling. What is the aim? What is it that they're looking for the board to do? Is it just simply get rid of Clement and then take the rest through there?
Well, I guess my counter to that is, short of actually literally spelling it out and in a fourth tifo, please, Mr. Clement, leave. Please, Mr. Rangers board, leave. Then it's I don't know what else you really do. They had 3 banners that were kind of more or less alluding to what they really wanted in a roundabout kind of way. And then they left. What was it, a day or two before they said they were going to do this. So I'm pretty sure the club would have caught wind of it. The club knew what was going on as it happened. The board could see what was going on. I think that was pretty clear, short of making everyone out to be a simpleton and going, I am leaving on 55 minutes, because those messages to me were pretty clear what was wrong. And then everyone left. So I think it was organised pretty well. What I found amusing was they couldn't get out quick enough, because obviously there's a safety thing by there's only so many places you can filter out of. So they're trying to go up down the sides, and they couldn't get out quick enough. So some of them were going back in the middle and then going back up, climbing up over the seats to get out, because they looked a bit daft, didn't they? But how else do you make that more clear, though, in all seriousness, like Connor? Sorry to counter that, but that's how I felt on that point.
Then isn't there, though? I totally get all that, and I feel the same with that. But this is not something that this can't be solved, quickly. There's no silver bullet to just immediately turn the fortunes around. Certainly, sacking Clement may well be something that is a part of that. Personally, I think Clement should be gone. As I said, I think it's unacceptable for any Rangers manager to be 15 points behind at this time of the year in January, and to have won 4 away games since February last year. But the other problem with that is finances. Everything comes down to finances, and right now, the club, for me, the only reason they're not sacking Clement is financial, because they know they have to pay him a couple of £1 million if they sack him for the remainder of his contract, because the boffins that were in charge beforehand decided to give him a contract extension. So that's why he's still in a job, make no bones about it. If they do then sack him, which I think is more on the table now than it was before. I think Patrick Stewart, when he did say they're backing him, but pending results improving, I mean, we've all watched football for a long time. That could be the kiss of death for a manager very, very quickly. But then what happens? You sack Clement, millions is forked out on him. You then need to spend money to pay wages for a new manager, and then where are we getting money to bring players in January? I mean, these are just the short-term things that we need to do, but I just don't think the money's there to do it, Trish.
No, there's not, and it's this happy medium. Like, what do you really do? You could sack him, but you need a solid plan B. And we can't keep sacking managers. We know that, but we can't also keep letting this go on and on. So you try and find a happy medium in the middle. You give Clement, if you give him to the end of the season, he's pretty much had 2 seasons or a season and a half, whatever it is. So, like, I think that's more than enough for a Rangers manager. And you're right, the 15-point gap by halfway through the season. Yeah, I know, like, a number of seasons ago, we lost the title to that lot by like 21 points, but that's by the end of the season. If we don't change anything, who's to say that figure 15 doesn't double and become a record? It's disgusting that at this stage, halfway through the season, we're that number of points behind them, and they've not been firing all cylinders all the time. They can be had at. There is the finances, like you say, Connor, but I think it's also they don't want a redneck as well. Finances is the biggest thing, but also, like, if you're a proud businessman, you're a proud board member, you've just given this guy that you believe in an extra year's contract based on nothing, and you might have to sack him X number of months later. That's a bit of a riddy, is it not?
Yeah. It certainly is. I mean, Stuart, in terms of all that, I mean, it's a catch-22 just now, isn't it, for the board? I mean, here we are in January, so the transfer window is open. We're nearly a fortnight into said transfer window. There has been zero movement at all in terms of us bringing in players. There's been 1 or 2 names that have been floated. I know Johnny Evans was pitched and rejected by Clement, from what we understand. But that surely is the main focus for the board right now. I mean, Patrick should have said 1 or 2 at the most, which, I mean, it needs more than 1 or 2, but, you know, as long as they're good enough, then at least you take it. But then the issue becomes, if you bring those players in and then you sack Clement, what's to say the next manager comes in and decides they don't fancy him?
In my opinion, that's why Patrick Stewart is saying 1 or 2. Because I'm hoping behind the scenes that Clement will go at the end of the season, if not before. He'll probably get to the end of the season with the board already made their mind up that he's going. So therefore, that's why they're saying they will bring in 1 or 2. And between now and probably May time, they'll put the feelers out of who's available. Have sort of like unofficial conversations in Starbucks somewhere in London to get an idea of who's really interested, what they could bring to the club, what the board could give to them. And that's the reason probably it's 1 or 2, because then when the new manager does come in, it's not going to be, well, I don't like the 5 players you brought in January. You could probably work with what he's got. Any new manager that comes in, it's just when he comes in, how well he uses what finances he's going to get to bolster the squad. You know, I wouldn't even mind loan players coming in January, but I'm not a great fan of loan players, but we'll give you 4.5 million after 6 months, i.e. Cortez. I think Diamondi was in that kind of contract as well. So I think that's probably, I'm hoping, in my opinion, is how it may go. 2 coming in January. In the background, let's look for a suitable manager who's available, and then come May time, end of the season, Clement's got his jotters. The new man comes in fairly early, so you can get working on the market. But to go back in one little bit, what Trev said about Celtic and not firing on all cylinders. Yes, they're not, but you know what they do? When they're not firing on all cylinders, they find a way to win. They get over the line, something we can't do, or for some reason we fail to do, but they do it easily. Yeah. And they don't just stop in 91 minutes or 92 minutes. They go on and get another couple of goals, 96, 98 minutes. It's something we give up at 45 minutes, but I'm sure we'll come on to that as well.
Connor, can I quickly make a comment on the transfer side of things as well? I'm glad you brought that up because I think it's bordering on unprofessional that we have not made a single, not even one loan signing yet. Now, I know we don't have loads of money, but any club worth their salt has got a plan A, B, and C, and have got a number of people on the books that they're looking at and scouting, right? You should have, in theory, you can negotiate, watch, scout, everything, a loan player at least in advance of January 1st. So worst case scenario, or best case scenario, should I say, come January 1st, you sign a loan centre back, right? Because that's what we need. We desperately need one. How we've not done that yet, unless he's waiting to get a couple of people out, which we heard that's a thing. But that doesn't change the fact that we are so desperately short at the back that you can't even sign one loanee centre back to tide us over. And I know Clement doesn't want the Man United boy, but listen, in a short term, he would fit the bill perfectly to the end of the season, man. Come on. Are you absolutely daft? I thought you were an intelligent man. You look at the short term and you look at the long term. Short term, we are up a certain creek without a certain paddle, and we need something to patch that defence before we get mauled against the Man Uniteds and whatnot of the world. So we need to fix that immediately, and then he can look at other signings down the line. However, Patrick Stewart knows he's not a daft man either, considering what the clubs he's been involved with in his career. He knows that Clement might not be the man. And he knows we've not got loads of money. So he is going to say, yes, one or two people in to tide us to end the season, because I don't want to give that numpty loads of money in case he makes an even bigger arse of it than he already is. So I'm disgusted. I wonder what you think as well, Connor, like the fact that we've not made one loan signing full stop. Is that's disgusting, is it not?
I mean, yeah, it is. But it's a sign of where we are. I think, as I said, that I feel there's a difficulty for Patrick Stewart in particular, and given he's not long into the job, I wonder if he's not quite feeling confident enough yet to fully stamp some of his authority on it. But he needs to get that way soon. I think it will come. I think one or two players, as he said, probably two, will come in between now and the end of the window. They'll more than likely be loan deals, potentially the type of loan to the end of the season with an option to buy kind of deal. Because that then gives the get out clause. If they're crap, you don't need to sign them. And if you come on and a new manager comes in, then they're not nailed down to have to keep them either. So that allows a flexibility. I suspect that's the kind of deal that they'll be looking at going down. Just bring up this point for King Rick. I'm not entirely sure what he's. I would maybe request further clarity for you there, King Rick, because quite frankly, and Stuart, maybe it's just me, but every manager who signs a contract at any club knows that contract is predicated on results. If results aren't good enough, you get sacked. Every manager on the planet signs exactly that contract when they join a club, just the same as when I get a job and I decide to take it. I'm taking that in the understanding of knowing if I don't do my job adequately enough, then I can be sacked. That's life. So I'm not sure where that's coming from, but that is every football contract, isn't it, Stuart?
Yeah, it's that is, like you said in your own job there, Connor, that's the manager's KPI, isn't it? Results. And 9 times out of 10, the manager has played at a level of football. So he's seen managers getting sacked for not performing. So they know when they take a job, any football club, that it's a results driven business. Don't get the results, you're not going to stay there very long.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, well, he's part of it. King Rick, he clearly has a say. He might not have the final say, but he absolutely has a say. I mean, the evidence of that is that, as I say, it was rumoured that Johnny Evans was pitched to Philip Clement and he turned that down. So that tells you that he does have some authority over it. Obviously, Niels Coppin is the main man for it, because even though he's in that new job, it's still part of that department that he's in, so he'll be a major factor in that as well. I mean, yeah. I think the thing is, Stuart, then if we're looking at players and we're saying, right, We need to bring in a couple of players. For you, what's the priority? What's the key area of the park that we need to bring somebody in the door, yesterday, basically?
And bear in mind, nobody that we bring in can improve the European squad. So this is all for the next stage, obviously. But the league, obviously, a blind man can see that we need a dominant, powerful, strong centre back. Other than that, do we need a ball winning midfielder, or would we sacrifice that for a ball winning right back? Myself, I would go for the ball winning midfielder.
Yeah, Trev.
That's my two positions.
I think Stu's got a fair point, I must admit. I totally agree. I think we are in dire need of a centre back right now. There is an injury crisis there for one thing. The other thing, the best centre back we've got is a 36, 37-year-old Leon Balogun, who you cannot play in every game. You can't ask that of him. And so we do need a centre back in the door. And for me, that would be the first piece of business I'd be looking to do. And then possibly looking, as Stuart says, at a midfielder.
Yes. I guess there's two trains of thought. What's the mandatory immediate positions, and what's your ideal? I'd love to get a player in X, Y, Z position. And for me, it's a minimum of one. It will be, like you said before, Connor, it's most likely going to be low knees, because we need to get more bodies out, and low knees tend to be cheaper, and that's fine. Get a lone defender in, maybe even two, because it depends. Like, you don't know. Suter is injury prone. I know he had quite a long spell where he wasn't injured, but he is still injury prone. He's been injured a few times with us. He's been injured a few times with Hearts. That's just who he's going to be. Yeah, he is one of our best defenders. Same with Liam Balogun, which I couldn't believe it when he actually got injured, because I love Big Leon. When he got injured, it must just be his age, because nothing happened. He was just running, and he pulled up, and I was like, nobody halved him. Like, you weren't exactly, you're running, but I was like, what happened there, mate? And I was a bit angry. It's not his fault, because I think him and
by the way, he pushed himself after that to make an unbelievable tackle to defend his lines, despite the fact he clearly injured himself, which even that, his mentality and what he showed there is entirely right in terms of what I expect for all my defenders. Put your body in the line. He's pulled up and he still went, no, I still need to stop this goal at all costs, and he did.
I'm glad you brought that point up, Connor, because we need to see more of that. That's the kind of stuff that you want to see. There is a few, two, three Rangers players that literally bleed red, white, and blue. Balogun's one of them. He loves the club. Hadji, I think, is another as well. We need more people like that in the club that will actually bust a gut, because they get it. They get it, boys. They just get what it's like. If we had even half the squad that was like that, I think we'd be in a far better position than we currently are. And I commend Balogun for doing that. I think he's our best centre-back. Some people might think I'm bonkers. That's Suter. Balogun's got the experience in Suter. And they're both injury-prone. And yes, those two boys are our best centre-backs, but they're also our most injury-prone. So what do? No one else is really suitable to come in. Proper is crap. King's not going to ever get a chance again. Nsiala, unknown. He's far too young at the moment. So one or two defenders in, and then you look at the ideal. Where would I want players? I want a player in bloody midfield. I want a player up front, but that ought to be dependent on who we can get out the door, especially that Egypt Dessers, who I won't finish my sentence because I would have said something. Yeah.
I mean, I think Dessers is. I don't think he's going anywhere in this window, to be brutally honest with you. I think he will be here until the summer, and then I think we'll probably look to offload him then. The issue, of course, Stuart, is we spent £4 million on Cyril Dessers or something like that. So we need to try and recuperate some of that back. I don't know that you'll get £4 million for him. You might, depending on the club, because there's some clubs in leagues where they'll just give you 4 or 5 million because they'll see it as chump change. But I think we'd be lucky to get 2-3 million back on him. And to be honest, right now in January terms, I don't think we do need a striker. I think Agaman's leading the line very well. Yeah, there's still room for improvement with him, there's no doubt. But you can't deny he's much more clinical and vastly superior to Cyril Dessers, I feel. Just with his overall playing, I think his ability, the technical ability he's got is fantastic. And I think Danilo's doing a decent enough job as an able deputy. Just maybe one or two more goals for him would be good, but he's come up with some big ones, which you can't deny. He pulled us back into it against St Mirren. We didn't take advantage of that, amongst others. So would you say that the striking option are okay for now, for the remainder of the season?
Probably not, because I'm thinking if we are caught with our pants down, because there's seemingly 2 Italian teams in for Dessers, and I think the reason, if this goes any further, they start talking to Dessers, I think this window he will more than happy to go. I think the reason why he didn't go during the summer, because he knew he was the Rangers number 9. There were no challenge on him, so he was happy to stay. Now he sees there's a young, hungry 22-year-old boy who is stealing the show from him, getting backed up with Danilo when he comes in. So I think potentially if there's if the rumours are of what we read in the 2 Italian teams pick up the bat and go after Dessers, I think he'll go. So potentially then we need another striker, because Danilo's injured now and then type thing, and when he does get injured, he's out for a period of time. So I would go for another attacker. Money wise, this I think I wouldn't even mind if we get 3 and threepence for Dessers, as long as we get the high.
How much? How much?
3 and threepence.
What's that? How much is that? 10 bob.
I will go for that. Anything, right? Anything. as long as we get the high paid earners that are not doing enough to earn that high wage off the books. That includes debt. That includes Dill as well. It includes Batondo. I think I read somewhere today that some I think it's Italian as well, showing interest in Batondo. Again, it could be all paper talk. But again, if we can get, we cannot go along the lines again that we've done with the likes of Kent and Morelos and let their contracts run to nothing and we get nothing after that. This is where some of the financial problems is lying with Rangers, because we've allowed these players this year, we'll sell them next year, but then the forms fell through the floor, and we don't get anything for them, and then they walk for nothing. We've got to learn that mistake. My only worry is with the financial, we'll call it mess or financial uncertainty that Rangers are in at the moment. My worry is if a team comes in and offers us 3-4 million for Iglari, do they both sell him? Because it's 4 million. And the worry then is we think that the Ibrox fans at the moment is giving the board a hard time. Could you imagine it? Could you imagine coming the 1st or 2nd of February, whatever, whoever we play that day, and it's less Igamani, and we haven't spent his money on a replacement?
Stuart, see if we're talking about strikers there. Some of the boys in chat are talking about Lovelace, right? Who's a good shout because he's been banging in the goals, right? We don't see him anywhere near the squad. And I remember basically hinting that the B team players are just not good enough to step up for the most part, right? But then when we are scudding St Johnstone 3-0 and we don't bring a young player off the bench, and we're bringing on like the Dills of the world, I can't get my head around that. I'm sorry, Clement, you're absolutely talking mince. If we're 3-0 up and you can't give any of these boys a shout early enough in the game, I know Lovelace probably, I don't know if he was on the bench or not, probably not. That's bang out order, that. What chance do you have?
Well,
And it's a fair point, yeah.
Sorry, Bonner, I'm not going to back the manager up, but he did say the likes of Rice will be start training with the first team today, Monday. So I was wondering as well when I didn't see Rice on the bench yesterday. I was at myself. Only 3 days ago, you told me that he's no me personally, but he told the fan base that he'll be there training with the first team. It's only then when I read into it and listened to him again, he did say Monday they'll be starting with the first team. So hopefully the likes of young Rice, young Curtis, Lovelace may get that opportunity, and I don't see why not. I mean, our time to it's not going to be Wednesday night against Aberdeen. That's too big a game. Even though I'm contradicting myself saying that, well, why not? Because the league's finished, etc. But it's them, isn't it? You don't want to lose at them on the home ground. The Scottish Cup game against Fraserburgh. If we cannot play youngsters in that game, we may as well shut the gates at Auchenhowie. Because if they kind of get a game there, if Dill plays that game and stuff like that, then you're starting to ask yourself, really? And just to answer one of the guys' questions there about Ignawi not getting sold in January, I didn't say he was going to get sold. All I said was, could you imagine if he did? So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I find it difficult to disagree with any of that. A question I would ask, and then we'll have a look towards Wednesday in the Aberdeen game, of course, another big match coming up that we know the alternative for. But before we get to that, Trev, is there an element of our fan base that's a bit snobbish when it comes to certain players coming in the door? Particularly if they're players in the Scottish Premiership already. Because I must admit, I do at times find myself getting quite irritated and fed up whenever you have a discussion and you go, well, maybe we could look at this player or that player or whoever's been linked to the club, and it feels like almost immediately these days you're getting a constant barrage of no him, we can't sign him, we can't go for him, he's not good enough, and you start to think, well, okay, who are you expecting us to sign? Because the fact is, this isn't the English Premier League. We're not Celtic either. We don't have £12 million to go out and waste on a prospect player that could bear fruit or could not bear fruit going forward. We don't have the luxury of being able to do that. So we have to be able to sign in players that are good value for money, that will do the job that we need them to do, and that, yes, we can potentially turn profits on. But I'm thinking last year, for example, at this time, there was a massive clamour to bring Lawrence Shankland in the door. He was well on his way to 30 goals for Hearts, once again having sold a barrel load the season before as well. And even that wasn't good enough for a lot of Rangers fans, nowhere near where they having it. So how do you combat that side of things as well? Do we just have to accept that you're not necessarily going to bring in a superstar?
Yeah, there will be a percentage of the support that maybe have standards that are far too high. I don't think it's a big percentage, Connor, because I think a lot of Rangers fans are smart enough to realise the status quo, the current situation. We have only got X amount of finances and resources to deal with, but we should be raiding our own league more for more Scottish talent. So many Rangers teams throughout the years have had a core or a part of a core of Scottish players running through it that have done so well. And I don't think you have a really good a good Rangers team unless you have that core. I've always remembered Rangers having, not always, but often a Scottish centre back that was solid. And we've got that in Suter when he's bloody fit. But we should be raiding these players more often.
Well, there's a point. Sorry, Jeff, but there's a point for Robert Robertson. If Butland had been fit yesterday, we wouldn't have had a Scot in the team. Albeit that's also, discarding the fact that Suter also isn't fit. But even with that, you're looking at two. And I think back even throughout the noughties, Walter Smith he built a core of his team on Scottish players. It was David Weir, who was come up for down south, was a bit older but still done a hell of a job. It was Stevie Whittaker brought in for Hibs, Kevin Thompson, brought in for Hibs, guys who at the time were beloved by the fans for what they gave. And Kevin Thompson is still very much a fan favourite to this day, I think. You obviously still had guys in there as well, like Barry Ferguson. I know he's not everybody's cup of tea anymore, but Stephen Naismith as well. You can't argue that he done a very good job, and he scored us some goals when he came in for Kilmarnock. Chris Boyd, the top goal scorer in the Scottish top flight's history, both the prior one, obviously the Scottish Premier League, I think it was on at the time, again, signed from Kilmarnock. So those players are out there. And there's guys, I mean, some mentions here, Danny Armstrong, for example, we could have looked at Kelly Lennon Miller, because Martin wouldn't forgive me if I didn't mention Lennon Miller. But he makes a fair point when he talks about him, because you wouldn't need to break the bank to sign a Lennon Miller. Not right now, you wouldn't. But the better he gets, the more expensive he's going to become.
Well, it's $4 million right now, probably, according to Motherwell.
Yeah.
Who's the boy from Dundee we want? Like, what's his name again? He'd be cheaper.
Lyle Cameron.
He'd be cheaper.
He'd be cheaper, and he's a decent player. You'd probably get Lyle Cameron for more than $1 million, I would imagine. Probably less.
He's free and his contract's up in summer, is it? No, so another Kamara, you'd be like Dundee, you'd be like, here's 51 grand this time. We're up in it after the Kamara deal there. Do us a solid, because we'll get him for free anyway. No, I think Lennon Miller is too expensive for us now. And is he worth $4 million? Doesn't matter. That's what Motherwell want from him. That's what they value their player as. So we're not getting him. But yeah, we should be rating players like that. It's getting more difficult though, Connor. It is getting more difficult to try and get good Scottish talent, because other clubs are putting the price up, the Old Firm tax, the Rangers tax. Whether it's fair or not, it's just a fact of life. But there's a reason we've done better when we've signed a core of Scottish players. They don't need to be Rangers supporters. That helps. I mean, Kevin Thompson wasn't a Rangers supporter when he came to us first off. Bannon isn't a Rangers supporter. But these guys know what the league is like. They know the expectations of Rangers to an extent, because they played in a bloody league. They are, not always, but they're usually a bit more harder than other players, because they've got to be good in that league. So there's a reason, I think, for me, that we're not doing as well, because we don't have enough of the correct, relevant type of player in our squad. We have. There's nothing wrong with foreigners, but then they're more suited a lot of the time to the European game, as we're seeing at the moment, without many Scottish players in the team. So there are bargains to get out there, mate, but not as many of them in Scotland as there used to be.
Yeah, I agree with that, Stuart. But Trev makes a great point. I do, and there is obviously, as he says, the Old Firm tax, the Rangers tax that gets put on it. I get all of that, but it does feel like, not only as a club have we lost that, but in certain sections of the fan base, we've lost the fondness to do it. I mean, again, some of the best players that have come in, even in short term, just to do a job for you. We've got for Scotland. I mean, look at Billy Dodds. Wasn't the greatest player ever, but see when we brought him in because we needed a striker to come in and just help us get some goals. Guess what he did? He came in and get some goals for us. Neil McCann was a great piece of business to bring in for Hearts, and even non-Scottish players we've got for the leagues, like Nacho Novo brought in for Dundee or Caniggia. These are good players that are at these clubs, and we just go, nah, it's too much hassle. Maybe do we need to be stronger as a club when it comes to our negotiations with these clubs and not let them try and take the piss out of us if we're going to try and bring players in?
See, I don't think it's a case of taking the pee. I think, as Trev said, it's what a club thinks their player is worth. So are we then going to pay that, or have a little bit of sensible negotiations with them? Not every club like us gives 8 players away for, I don't know, how much was it? £800,000 or something like 8 players, 5 players away or whatever. That's just us being silly. No, not every club is like that. One wee player I would like to come in is the boy for Kilmarnock, plays at midfield. Is it Watkins?
Watkins, yeah. Watson, sorry, David Watson, the young man.
Yeah, great wee player.
Lewis is a massive fan of him. Yeah,
he would fit in nicely with us. But again, I think young Barron started off very well, but I think that was more of the wee man's enthusiasm. His, he knew what Rangers fans appreciate: effort, running around into tackles, showing enthusiasm, etc., etc. But recently, he's fell off the boil, and I'll say this: recently, he looks like an Aberdeen player.
I was going to say, ever since the judgment was made that we had to pay him £500,000 for him, it's like he's dropped off. As soon as we've had to pay for him, now all of a sudden, it's bizarre.
But Connor, sorry, but I feel sorry for Barron because he just one day get dropped for Raskin because Raskin started coming to the scene and started playing great, which is fine. You're giving Raskin a shout over him, and I don't think we should play those two together unless it's up against a big, like a Man United type team. I feel sorry for Barron because the couple of times he has come in since, he hasn't been great. Granted, I'll hold my hands up to that. And a couple of people in chat were saying what you were saying, that he's not been amazing. He's maybe a squad player at best. But at the start of the season, he was playing phenomenal. People were saying, player of the season. So he's got the talent. He's proven that time and time again. He's got the talent. So he's not completely shite. It's just we need to see this come back. It's the confidence that so many of the other players are lacking. It's not just him. So I'm glad he's with us.
I think my only frustration with Barron, Trev, has simply been that, and it goes back not even just to us, but even when he was at Aberdeen, it's that he's got a real lack of goals throughout his career so far. He doesn't score. And listen, his main job isn't to score. Of course it's not. He's a holding midfielder and he does that job very well when he's at it. But, you need to add goals. I mean, Kevin Thompson wasn't a major goal scorer, but he still scored a few. He still popped up when you needed.
He was hard as no, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I think that's who I would kind of equate him to. And he's still young, and I'm sure that will come. But
Connor, you spoke about snobbery there within our fan base, because if a player's coming from Hibs or Kilmarnock, no good enough. I'm going to mention this name, and I'm just going to look at the comments of what everybody's reaction is going to be. Right, I love this. Porteous.
Yes.
That boy would do us a job. He's no
nonsense. Can I just say behind Porteous, Stuart, but I'll let you come back in straight away. I like that shout. I'll tell you why. Because I've believed for a long time that there's been a lack of arseholes at Rangers on the park. Somebody who, do you know what I mean? Somebody who is a bit of a wind-up merchant who will just go in for things, who doesn't mind a bit of the rough and tumble side of the game. We've not had that for a long time, properly, I don't feel. And I think Ryan Porteous is somebody who'll give you that look. He walks a tightrope, and certainly you have to make sure that you don't, if you bring him in, that you don't let him cross that line, and that he's smart enough not to get himself sent off like he did, for example, in the Euros, albeit that was more accidental. But whether it's him or somebody like him, I do think you need somebody who's just that bit more aggressive. As I say, somebody who is just a bit of an arsehole.
Morelos, how many red cards do you get us? Right, so we can have our favourites, or we can have. I knew I was going to get Stuart get to with this nominee, but again, it's somebody who will. Yeah, he'll get a red card, of course he will. But it's somebody who, as you said, will take no nonsense. He flies into tackles, he wins the ball, he winds opposition strikers up. And as he did with Stevie G, he winds Stevie G up with his comments about, that's a silly question. Am I smiling? Am I happy? Do I look happy? But I don't know who else then. Who else is going to come in that position that is going to probably cost us next to nothing? I mean, I think he was mentioned there for Hull City at 1.4 million or something, right? If we can afford 1.4 million for somebody who knows the Scottish game, knows what it's like, okay, it may not be one of us, but as Fred says, Barron's not one of us either. I mean, if we bought your boy for Kilmarnock, chances are he's not one of us either. I mean, it's not as if we're going to Celtic and asking to buy Carter's Vickers. I think he would do all right for us. But obviously, everybody in the comments doesn't think so.
This nonsense of it, I'm sorry, Trev, right? And I'm weary of time, right? We've not really spoken about the Aberdeen game, but there'll be plenty of time for that tomorrow as well.
To stay on, mate. It's all good. I'm good to stay
on. I've got another pod to do. So, but I'm just rough idea about. I don't care. Is it just me? I couldn't care less who a player supports. Because as far as I'm concerned, regardless of who you support, if you sign a player, or if you're a player and you sign for a club, then we're paying you to do a job for this club. So I'm expecting you to come in and do the job for this club. And if you're good enough, if what you've been doing at whatever club you're at just now merits the interest of Rangers Football Club, I could not care less who you grew up supporting. I really couldn't.
Yep, because you're a professional at the end of the day, aren't you, Connor? Banner's a great example that he's an Aberdeen boy, clearly. But when Rangers come in for him, you get an impression that he was humbled and honoured. He's like, I don't need to have a second thought about signing for, the biggest club in the land. I'm coming to play with yous. I know what it's like to play with yous. I played against yous. I know what that crowd's like. I know what that atmosphere's like. I think I can handle it. And until he got dropped, I think he was handling it pretty well. So I have to agree with you on that front, Connor. It's what's required.
Ian, maybe a bit of wax was in your ears or something. It went that way because Stuart had mentioned that as one of the things that we get snobbish about as Rangers fans, potentially because of supporting a certain club. That's where the conversation had kind of went there. That's why I said, for me, I just think that's a nonsense.
To be fair, Connor, you can, if you're a player and Rangers come and approach you, say you like the Sports Celtic or whatever, I said the C word, he's proud of me, or Aberdeen, then you can always say, I don't want to sign for you, no thank you. You can always say that. There's no one making you sign for us. You're a professional, you either want to play for us or you don't, that simple.
Yeah, well, the thing is, and Stuart, I'll come to you, right, because I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you're a sort of elder statesman as compared to me and Trev, so, you're more likely to remember days gone by than us, but I know, and it's what I always find incredible, right? Are we in, have we come full circle in terms of what fans are prepared to put up with in terms of signings? Because, I wasn't around at the time, but I've seen all the stuff that happened. Everybody knows that when Mo Johnson, he had played at Celtic, he had basically signed to rejoin and play for Celtic again, and then at the last second, at the 11th hour, in came Rangers, Graham Souness, and we made the offer, and he came to play for us, and look what he'd done in his time when he did come to Rangers. Now, I know there was a whole hoopla about that, but is that not an example of proving that actually, do you know what, you got to do what's in the better interest of the club rather than the tribalism that surrounds it? Because it feels to me like we've almost gone back to that point of the 80s where certain things are now off limits.
100%. And I was one of the fortunate ones back when Mo Johnson signed. That's when I got my season ticket. So that's that part of it. Now I'm thinking the difference is, he was ex-Celtic. He was going to sign for Celtic. It came to us, but then you get the comments in and around Porteous. And I won't use the word. No, he's that kind of religion. He's that kind of religion. He's that kind of religion. Can everybody please look Wednesday night with our players walk on the pitch? There's no many Church of Scotland that are walking on that pitch, right? They're walking on.
That's true.
They're walking on up to the Muslims, blessing themselves, etc., etc. It's not a place for football. It's not a conversation to have. But that is where we were in 1988 and beforehand. No having that player, no having that player. What school did you go to, son? Etc., etc. What's your mum's name? Blah, 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 blah. And this is where we got to. History showed us that up until then, that's, at that point there under John Gregg, etc., what we were looking at. I mean, I remember going to Ibrox so I could pick my seat. No, and that was after the game started. But I think we're moving forward, and hopefully, it's we take that away from the fan base can keep that, right? If that's what we want, we've got the songs, etc., etc. But let's not push it towards the players that we can't buy Porteous because he's one of them. Let's just say it. I don't fancy him as a football player. Great, that's fine then. But
which is the point Aldo makes, and that's an absolute. If your point, Aldo, Mo Johnson was world class, and if you think Porteous is a donkey, that's a legitimate reason to not want to bring him here. But the point I think we are making, with Stuart's making there as well, is that make the reason that you don't want him here be purely because you don't rate him as a footballer, which I think most people do. But there is that section, and I've seen it within the comments tonight, saying it that feel strongly against it because of other factors as well. And you think, well, no, it should be about the player. Very quickly, gents, we'll briefly touch on Aberdeen before we wrap up. Trev, we know what to expect for Aberdeen on Wednesday, because it doesn't matter that they're 11 games without a win. Doesn't matter that they're in absolutely wretched form right now. They'll turn up. They always do against us. We've seen it at Pittodrie. Perhaps it'd be nice for us to get a wee measure of revenge on them for that. How do you see us looking and shaping up going into the game on Wednesday?
That's a brilliant comment for Sir Blue Mutton Ticklers. I love that. I see us probably giving them a tickle or two. Yes, they do turn up for us, regardless. It's their 2 games a season, I guess, when they're playing at Ibrox, that they do turn up. They have been absolutely honking recently, and we knew that would happen. They don't have the depth that we do. That not that I think we have a massive amount of depth, but compared to them, we do, compared to Celtic. And if they'd had more depth, they would have probably potentially still been second place right now. But, a couple of injuries come in and they start falling away. We knew it would happen, and we've been proven right. They will turn up on Wednesday, regardless of what happens, and they will give us a game. It'll be interesting to see if we win, because, the combination of them turning up and us supposedly being better at home, we'll see how those two things clash. It could be a wee scrappy 1-0 or something, Connor. And do you want to know something? Against that lot, I would take that, because it's never an easy game against them.
No, it certainly isn't, Stuart. As I said, Aberdeen will break out their box of tricks, no doubt. When they come to Ibrox, they'll throw everything they've got at it, because that's what they do. Granted, they did do that once this season at the other end of the city, but only once did they do that. So, we can't be dropping any more points, Stuart, particularly home points. We've got a decent record at home. We've only dropped 2 points at home all season. So very much tells you that the away record is what's put us 15 behind. But it's a banana skin on Wednesday night if we let the tempo drop off, particularly the way it did in the second half of the weekend.
Yeah, I'm surprised when you say they've not won in 11 games, but yet they're only sitting, is it 5 points behind us?
Yeah.
So it shows you the kind of run that we went on also. You know what I mean? But yeah, Wednesday will be all guns blazing. It will be one of the games where potentially one goal wins it. It'll be one of the games where I'm going to be confident that our home performance will get us through. But we know what, as Trev says, we know what Aberdeen turns up at any time against us. They could be on a 30-game winless streak, but they come to Ibrox and it's all got all of a sudden they all turn into Maradonas and Messis and what have you. But I wouldn't be surprised to see them potentially go with a lot of the kid-on injuries lying around, breaking play up, because they know that we'll, in the first half especially, we'll come at them. If they can break our play up and make it a scrappy game, they're thinking then we could walk away with a point.
Mm.
And I'm wondering if Wednesday's game begins with Doug said they're 9 points behind us, so I can't count. Okay. I think
I've just checked the table there, it is 9.
Yeah, all right, okay. What was I going to say there? Yeah. I'm wondering then if Wednesday's game begins with Patrick Stewart's comments of if results don't improve. So is Wednesday's the first one? And then if you look after the Man United game, the away games we've got coming up. Is it Tynecastle? I don't know in what order. Obviously, there'll be home games in there as well. But Tynecastle, Tannadice, the Dump, and somewhere else. I think it's somewhere else. But it's A3, which we could potentially, with our away record. But yeah, Aberdeen playing dirty. They can play up. We're at home. I'll go for a 1-0 us.
Yeah, I think we'd all take that, Trev. Absolutely. Let me just bring this up, Smudge. We hadn't forgot about it, but as the conversation went, just trying to put it in. Thank you very much for the £5 super chat, Smudge. Donation from Martin to upgrade to Cocodamol or Disprin Extra. get well soon, Martin. I'm familiar with Cocodamol. Discipline extra, not so much. I do believe he has made a trip to the pharmacy this evening anyway.
Cocodamol's a bit of a step up for the bloody cold, man. That's for like pretty mid to serious pain.
Yeah, I get Cocodamol when I had a massive abscess, and I needed it to knock me clean out, basically, because that is what that does. So, yeah. Although, Smudge, you are a member, so if you tune in at 9 o'clock, you'll see Martin in the hot seat for the EPL show. If he's managed to.
Is he making it?
As far as I know, he's making it, yes. Whether he makes it through the full show or not, I don't know, because he started the reaction yesterday and then realised about 15 minutes in that it was not going to work.
He didn't look good before. We saw him before at the start. He didn't look. No. Yeah, he looked rough.
No, the things that we do for you members, even getting out of sick beds, I mean, that is dedication for you folks. But yeah, Trev, for you, your score prediction then for Wednesday night, you feeling the same as 1-0?
It'll be a scrappy 1-0. And it'd be brilliant if it was in the last minute of stoppage time just to wind the mutton ticklers up a little bit. That'd be great.
I'm going. I think there'll be one goal in it, but I'm going for 2-1 because I don't believe we're keeping a clean sheet. Not with the way our defence is right now. I mean, it's been held together by ticker tape. So, I'm going for 2-1. We'll have a Hamza Egerman double. Why not? He seems to enjoy that. But that'll do us there, gents. Thanks very much indeed for joining me. I've enjoyed that, Stuart and Trev. We'll need to do this again, the three of us, I think. Thanks to everybody who's joined us in the comments. As I say, for those of you who enjoy English football, the EPL is on in about 20 minutes' time at 9 o'clock. It's an FA Cup special, of course, because there was no Premier League games this weekend. And then the Rabble will be back tomorrow afternoon at 12:30 for your afternoon Rabble. And I believe that Martin will be back to get his standard doing in the Who Am I's. I mean, it's becoming embarrassing now that it's a real cricket show that's happening there. But nevertheless, we will see you then. So take it easy.